What's up, everybody? Welcome into Stadium Drive Week 12. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Storied Rivals Podcast Network, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate you making us part of your Football Friday. Hopefully you all had a wonderful, spooky Halloween full of candy, trick or treat with all your kiddos and everything like that. But really appreciate you joining us for some football talk this week. And in Week 12, first of all, Week 11 was full of some unbelievable playoff football games with some of the games that we covered. And I was at West Muskingum Union Local. West End got their first ever home playoff victory, second playoff win in school history against the Jets. And that was a really, really good game. And, West End got the advantage early, but, second half, it really seemed like Union Local had some momentum, especially like really within the first couple minutes. They were down, I think, down one score, and they take that second half kickoff down to basically the goal line, and then West Ham stands them up and then goes up two possessions, and then it really kind of felt like the game was over from there. Union Local still kept it close; they kept battling, but the Jets really needed that touchdown to start the second half. And or just at least some points, a field goal, something. And I totally understand going for it, at the goal line, fourth and goal, you got to do it. But that really seemed like the turning point in that game. West Ham had the lead and then kind of captured the momentum from there. And that was honestly the best game that I was there, and I didn't get to watch any of the other games, obviously, but that was a fantastic game to be at. Another great game was Olentangy Liberty and Finley in the first round, and that one was a down to the wire, last play, time expires, touchdown, 2-point conversion on a Philly special. They win 36-35. That's just an unbelievable way to win a football game. But this week in Week 12, we're covering the Granville Blue Aces and the Tri-Valley Scotties. Blue Aces at home for Week 12, 11-0 on the season, and their quarterback, Beckett Long, has been really on a tear ever since really Week 5 on, and they had a blowout victory against Bexley in round 1 of the playoffs, 53-27. Beckett Long had 285 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 4 of which went to Dante Varrasso, who had a $180, 9 catches, and just Varrasso, best receiver in the Licking County League and really in this area. And Beckett Long also had 58 rushing yards and a touchdown. So Long has been on a tear. The Long-Varrasso connection has been unbelievable, especially during the back half of the season. And Varrasso, kind of coming off an injury, kind of middle of the year, missed a couple games. He's come back and he just seems reinvigorated and is playing so well, not only offensively but defensively. In Week 10, he had an interception return for a touchdown, so a pick six. Anytime the ball finds his hands, he's got a chance to do something pretty special. So this offense for Granville, especially, through the air, Beckett Long to Dante Varrasso, it's lethal, and it's been lethal really ever since week 5, really. But the key loss, though, for Granville, late regular season, they lose Kyle Kirby, who is their running back. They can line him up out wide in the slot, can do a myriad of things offensively, but just really a tough between the tackles runner, very physical, very built and strong. And so it kind of changes the way that they run the football now, the Blue Aces. It changes the way they do things offensively, running the football. And obviously Beckett Long is quite nimble and masterful with his legs, not only extending plays, looking to pass, but just as a runner as well. But losing Kyle Kirby, I think, is extremely important defensively. It is a crushing blow because of everything that he does in the middle of the field. He is a tackling machine, and just whoever has the ball, he's got a nose for it. He's going after it, and just a great open field tackler, and really just plugs things up for Granville. And so he is I would argue more of a loss defensively than he is offensively, just because the offense has so much talent. Not that the defense also doesn't have talent, but losing a guy who just has a nose for wherever the ball is and makes so many tackles in the open field, it's very difficult, and it's going to be challenging going up against this Tri-Valley offense. Jayden Wallace, 173 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns last week in their first round victory. And, for Tri-Valley, they kind of had a slow start to their first round game against Buckeye Valley, but turned it on in the second half and won 49-12. Keaton Hahn also really on a massive heater right now against John Glenn, one of the better defenses, if not the best defense in the Muskingum Valley League. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. And John Glenn was a little bit banged up, towards this end of the season here, but still a really solid defense. Keaton Hahn had 2 touchdowns against John Glenn and then 2 touchdowns against Buckeye Valley. So 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. He's really on a heater right now. And so it's going to be interesting how Granville decides to play Tri-Valley's offense, because Jayden Wallace has such great vision as a running back between the tackles, bouncing it outside. That can get him the ball in space out of the backfield as a receiver. But Max Lyle is also just really efficient. Rarely does he ever put the ball in harm's way. Doesn't make mistakes all that often. And he's been finding Keaton Hahn a lot recently in the end zone, and seems to be his favorite target right now, at least, just because he's been so hot. This is going to be an electric matchup, and I'm really excited to see what takes place. Let's hop into these interviews now here on the Storied Rivals Podcast Network. We'll start with head coach Wes Schroeder in the Granville Blue Aces, and then we'll talk to Cam West of the Scotties. This is just going to be such a good game, and we will be there Friday night live at around between 5:45 and 6 o'clock. We'll go live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So make sure you check us out. We'll hype up this game, other playoff games going on, around this area and in the Columbus area as well. So super exciting stuff. Stadium Drive Week 12. Thanks so much for being here. And here is head coach Wes Schroeder of the Granville Blue Aces, followed by Cam West of the Tri-Valley Scotties. Going into Week 12, Round 2 of the playoffs, and coming off a huge blowout victory in Week 11, 53-27 against Bexley. And Coach, I really appreciate your time joining our show this week. And you've got Tri-Valley and the Scotties coming to town. But before we dive into that matchup and what your plans are for everything that they do offensively and defensively, I kind of want to talk about the play of your quarterback, Beckett Long, because it seemed like the first few weeks of the season, it was a little bit of a slower start. You relied a lot on your defense to kind of, win you some football games as he kind of eased into the season. But really, since like week 4 or 5 on, he has just really exploded. I mean, last week and against Bexley, 285 yards, 5 touchdown passes, and then he had a rushing touchdown as well. And he's really been doing that the last handful of weeks of the regular season and now into the playoffs. Like, what has gone into this offensive explosion for him and leading your offense?
You're right. Early in the year, we tried easing him into it. So last year as a sophomore, he had almost 0 snaps at quarterback because he played free safety all year, so he didn't get any JV reps as a sophomore. His freshman year, he split JV time with Ernsberger at the time. So he's only playing a quarter or 2 a game as a freshman, and then his 8th grade year he was hurt, so he hasn't really played much quarterback in his life. So dating back to 7th grade, so he's trying to ease him into it, make things simple as possible. He's an extremely smart kid. The best thing about him is he's the ultimate competitor. We knew he was going to get better. We started putting more on his plate as the year went on, and he handled it really well. He's a super physical kid, smart kid, very coachable, great teammate, great leader. But he just continuously got better, and we just hope it continues. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in Central Ohio, and I don't say that lightly. I really think he's that talented of a kid. He's what you want. He's ultra physical. That's not very common in a quarterback position, and we love him as our leader.
Speaking of one of the best, or if not the best, Dante Varrasso has been on a tear since he came back from injury, out for a couple weeks, and then last week he had a buck 80 and 4 touchdown catches. I think in week 10 he had a pick six, if I'm not mistaken, or he did at least at some point late in the season. But I mean, it seems like he's just been reinvigorated since being out for a couple weeks since that injury. What have you noticed in his mindset, his approach in practice during the week, and then when he gets out there in the game? I mean, he has just been a menace offensively, catching a bunch of touchdown passes and racking up a bunch of yards, and defensively he's been a ball hawk.
Yeah, so he's another one. Leaders of our team are just ultimate competitors. That's what we want, and that's Dante in a nutshell. Really, you could turn on the film and you could see he's a playmaker. He's the best ball skills I've seen in a long time. He had 4 touchdowns on Friday. Just throwing the ball in his area, he's going to come down with it. He's just gotten better and better every week, and just like Beckett has. And in the defensively, he did have a pick six in the last game of the year. And every time the ball touches his hands, it has a chance to go. So when you have that playmaker, it really helps. And I think with those two, why they've kind of turned on the past handful of weeks is, we lost Kyle Kirby, who's an outstanding player himself. But those two kind of knew. Those 3 scored almost all of our touchdowns throughout the year, majority of them. So those two, they had to step up, and they've done that in a big way. And obviously all the guys around him have too. So it's not just those 3, but those 2 really took that load on. And like I said, Dante's he's special. He's one of a kind, and we're grateful he's on our side.
Yeah, speaking of the loss of Kyle Kirby, he's just such a physical runner of the football, and just mows people down. And I remember being at the game against Heath midway through the season, and I mean, he was just running through guys. But what has changed about the philosophy running the football? Because Noah Music has stepped in now at tailback. He's also your kicker, and I mean, he's got a heck of a leg. Obviously, we've talked about that many times before. But is there anything philosophy-wise that's changed about the way you want to run the football with him at tailback?
Yeah, I mean, Noah's been our running back throughout the year. He's just been more of a blocking back for the early part of the year, and he would get 10 carries a game or whatever it was. And Kyle would go out in space, play the slot, and come in the backfield in situations. But yeah, it's changed. We're just trying to find different ways to pick up, yardage and move the chain. So, whether that's Beckett with his feet or, just quick game or, taking shots or screen game, whatever it is, we're trying to just evolve who we are offensively to give our guys the best chance to move the chains and get in the end zone. So losing Kirby's obviously a devastating blow, but everybody goes through that kind of stuff. You lose people; that's part of this game. It's how you handle it, as a team to kind of go from there. I think the bigger loss is on defense for Kyle. He was such a force in the middle for us, and we're missing him there, but we miss him everywhere. But it is what it is, and we just got to play from here. And we can't control it, so we just got to find a way to, like I said, move the chains and get first downs and touchdowns when we can. So we just got to make plays.
So without him in the middle of the field defensively, how are you planning to stop this Jayden Wallace kid for Tri-Valley, who he had 173 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns in their playoff win last week? And, Keaton Hahn also, he's kind of been on a heater recently at wide receiver. He's 4 touchdowns combined in the last 2 weeks. I mean, what defensively, how do you go about trying to limit the way that they produce offensively? Because Wallace gets the ball in so many ways out in space. He can run between the tackles, got great vision. And then Max Lyle is really spreading it around to all of his receivers.
Yeah. And thanks for reminding me. So that running back's a stud. Yeah, we're well aware of that. And I think that's, when we get this far in the playoffs, we made our run, or, we win games. It's the teams that can, at the high school level especially, is, stop the run and run the ball. But yeah, he's a stud, and it is what it is. We're going to have to get guys the ball and get them to the ground when we have the chance, and not allow the quarterback to have easy access throws, or make them tight windows, whatever you want to call it. But we want to make it hard on him to make his windows kind of cloudy, and hopefully we can force them into a bad throw here or there, and and like I said, get the running back to the ground when we can and make plays on the ball when we're given the opportunity.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate your time today. Best of luck in Week 12. Get to 12-0 and just keep making this deep run in the playoffs, man. And really appreciate you talking for 6 or 7 minutes today. But best of luck. Get a win, man. And we'll be at the game Friday, and we're looking forward to watching.
All right. Appreciate you guys having me.
All right, we're here with head coach Cam West of the Tri-Valley Scotties going into Week 12, Round 2 of the Division III playoffs. And in Week 11, got a dominant victory, 49-12 against number 11 Buckeye Valley. And Coach, really appreciate your time joining us as always. And kind of a slow start in the first half against Buckeye Valley last week, but then second half really exploded. And Jayden Wallace had almost a $175 rushing, 3 touchdowns. And Keaton Hahn, he's on a heater recently. He's had 4 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. And he had 2 touchdowns against Buckeye Valley. But what did you like about the way your team responded after that slow start in the first half, offensively and defensively, to kind of close out Buckeye Valley, have a dominant win, and now you look like you're back in your flow for Week 12?
Yeah, it definitely was a slow start. It's something we always talk about starting fast, and that was the exact opposite. And I give credit to Buckeye Valley, and I told the kids all week that they watch film too, and they're going to practice and work on things that we're good at and try to take them away. And they did a good job of that in the first half. But what I really enjoyed seeing from our kids when we went at halftime is there was no panic. It was a situation where we were just calm, and we talked about forgetting what happened in the first half and taking care of business in the second half. And that's a testament to just the kids and the attitudes that we have in kind of the situations that we've been in throughout the year. I mean, if you look at our schedule as a whole, we've lost 2 games, been in the hole, been in dog fights, and we're down 10-0 to Sheridan. So I think we've been in that situation before, and the kids trust in the process. And so it was good to see us at halftime kind of make some small adjustments. People talk about adjustments all the time. Really, we didn't do a bunch of adjustments. We just started playing better in the second half.
Right.
So I think that helped, and it was good to see our kids just bounce back. And defensively, we played really well in the second half and got some turnovers, got some short fields, and scored fast. And that helps when you can get on top quickly in the second half and kind of put the game away early.
Do you attribute that to just kind of like it's playoff nerves? It's, because now, and not that games don't matter in the regular season, but like now it's like do or die. It's win or you go home. Do you kind of attribute that slow start in the first half to just kind of nerves and just kind of, I guess, getting used to that moment, that playoff atmosphere?
Yeah, I think that could be some of it. But I honestly think we didn't play very well. And I do think that Buckeye Valley had a good plan coming in to shut down the run game in the first half, and they wanted to stop Jayden Wallace. They loaded the box, and formationally we were kind of heavy run out of certain formations, and they knew that and put more guys than we could block in the box. So it's I think a mixture of things kind of lead to us starting pretty slow.
Now, like I mentioned, Keaton Hahn 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. What's went into this hot streak that he's been on recently? Because it seems like Max and him they just have a connection going, and it seems like he's looking to him whenever you guys are close to the end zone. He's been making some big plays for you the last couple of weeks in some big games. What's went into just his recent offensive production?
Yeah, I think it's just him and Max being more comfortable together, more reps at practice. And I will tell you, Keaton makes some plays at practice that would be on SportsCenter top 10. He makes some catches and he does it every single week where we just throw the ball up and he's got 2 guys hanging on him and he somehow comes away with the ball. He just has fantastic hands. Like I said, I think Max trusts that if you put the ball close to Keaton, he's got a really good chance to catch it because he's long, he can jump, his catch radius is huge. So you don't necessarily have to be perfect at quarterback and put it in a perfect spot. Just get it up in the air and let Keaton use his athleticism and go get it. So like I said, it's a mixture of things. I think they're being more comfortable. And like I said, just get the ball in Keaton's area, and he's really good at playing the ball in the air.
Now, the defense stepped up in the second half against Buckeye Valley, and it's going to need to step up in a big way really throughout against Granville this week because they're so talented offensively. And Beckett Long had 6 total touchdowns last week, and he is just really, I feel like since week 4 or 5 on, he's really exploded as the signal caller for the Granville offense. And Dante Varrasso had 4 receiving touchdowns last week. He's probably the best receiver in the Licking County League, and he had 180 yards receiving. That tandem is really, really good. Defensively, how do you match up against that? Because they're without their running back, Kyle Kirby, so maybe not as potent of a running offense, although they still have some guys that can run the football. But that connection, Varrasso and Long through the air, is just lethal. So how do you plan on defending that?
Yeah, I think you go into games like this when you're playing a team that's extremely talented offensively, knowing that you're not going to shut them down. They're going to get theirs. Varrasso's they're going to catch the ball. The quarterback's really good. Varrasso's really good, and they have other receivers that are also really good. So I think you have to go in with the mindset of, look, they're going to complete balls. We just can't give up gigantic chunk plays, and that's kind of our goal this week, is to limit the chunk plays. We can't have Varrasso scoring on 80-yard touchdowns. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster for us. So I think just defensively, we got to try to limit and take away some things and be good on third down. When we have a chance to get off the field on third down, we have to get off the field. You can't give these guys too many opportunities to make plays because they are extremely explosive. And like you spoke on their quarterback earlier, man, he's fantastic. He can make any throw you want, and he can run, which adds a different element in their offense, to where when you lose arguably their best player, the Kirby kid, who was fantastic, I think they're going to run the quarterback a little bit more, which creates a numbers game, and they have an advantage offensively numbers wise because they gain an extra blocker. So it's going to be a challenge, and we know that going in. When you're in week 12 in the playoffs playing a team as talented as Granville and as well coached. I mean, they do some things they just have a good scheme, and their coach does a great job. We're looking forward to the challenge, but we understand that they're going to complete balls. They're going to make plays. That's what good teams do.
The loss of Kirby might be bigger for Granville on the defensive side of the ball, because he is just such a tackling machine. He's got a nose for whoever has the ball. He's going and getting them. Do you plan, since he kind of plugs up the middle of what he did was plug up the middle of their defense, is the plan offensively to maybe look for things over the middle of the field a little bit more, run between the tackles instead of maybe bouncing it to the outside? Like, well, I guess, where do you look to go with the football offensively without spilling too many of your secrets here on our show?
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret. I mean, Jayden Wallace is going to get his touches, whether he's inside or outside. I mean, he's kind of been our workhorse. We're obviously looking to get him 20 to 30 touches a game, whether that be inside or outside. He's going to get his touches, and it really doesn't change our game plan as much. Obviously, the Kirby kid's fantastic, but they're kind of plugging and playing, and the kids that they put in those spots are good football players. And one thing I look at when I scout Granville defensively is, man, they are athletic. They're not gigantic, but they have 11 kids on the field that can run sideline to sideline. And their defensive line, not very big, but boy, they're physical. And they're you can tell they're coached really well in all phases, offensively, defensively. And it makes it exciting when you're playing a team defensively as stout as Granville and offensively as explosive as them, because we know we're going to have to play well to win.
Well, the MVL Big School Division champion and the LCL Buckeye Division champions going to battle this week in Week 12, and it might be the most exciting game of the week. So we're really excited to watch, Coach. But best of luck. Go get a win, man. Move on to round 3, and we really appreciate your time this week and every week prior. So thanks so much.
Hey, thank you very much.